Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live panel discussion where we'll be drilling into the skilled trade shortage. My name's Christy Lee, TV host, automotive enthusiast, DIYer, and proud Stanley Black Decker family member as a brand ambassador for Craftsman Tools. This is such an important topic, particularly in today's context. There's already been booming demand for skilled trade workers of all kinds, and we can expect this demand to grow even more. But we're facing a massive shortage of talent in these fields. For example, there are 430,000 open construction jobs in the US alone and 10 million unfilled manufacturing jobs globally. In today's discussion, we'll hear from a range of experts and skilled trade professionals about the drivers of this shortage, how we can work together to solve for these drivers, and personal stories about how rewarding these careers can be. In the discussion, we'll also explore some fresh data from Stanley Black Decker's Makers Index, one of the first studies that explored the sentiments of young people and their parents to understand why they're not considering trade careers as often as they should. The index findings revealed a paradox that underscores an underlying driver for the skilled trade shortage. Young people actually do think these fields are good career options, just not for them. We'll dig into these findings in more detail throughout the discussion. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce today's panelists. First, we have with us Shannon LaPierre, Chief Communications Officer at Stanley Black Decker. Welcome, Shannon.
Hello, thank you.
Let's give a shout out to our next panelist, John Malecki, former NFL offensive lineman turned YouTuber and builder. Welcome, John.
Hey, thanks for having me. Pumped to be here.
And lastly, we have Abby Leonard, third-year welding apprentice at Poole & Kent. Welcome, Abby.
Hi, thank you.
Guys, we've got an awesome panel here. I'm pretty excited for some important topics that we have to discuss today. You guys ready to get this going? Okay, our first section will discuss salary and financial security. According to Stanley Black Decker's Makers Index, young people significantly underestimated the true income potential for skilled trade careers. Do you feel a skilled trade career can set a young person on a path toward financial success?
I think one of the surprising stats that we saw in the survey, really trying to uncover why there was this gap around consideration of the trades, was I think it was about 20% of the students thought that trade professionals only made around $20,000 a year. And we know for a fact that that is just not the case and not what the income potential is. So misunderstanding the financial rewards and potential in the career field was so surprising to me that it really made us want to get out and really share with people so that they understand that this is a real great career path and way for financial security and wealth generation, the multi-generational wealth of passing along a business, family-owned business. And that career potential and wealth potential is really amazing in the skilled trades professional. And when I shared some of this information with some executives at some large construction firms, and they just kind of laughed and chuckled because they just couldn't believe that people would underestimate the earning potential in these fields.
These numbers are so important to provide to our youth because they're rapidly moving at that point in their life and also trying to create financial independence. So when you've got two numbers with a vast difference between the two when you're looking at what it might cost to go to college and what I might make out of college versus going into the trades and not having the appropriate information, the appropriate numbers to back up that industry, it can make for difficult decisions for these young people to want to pursue that path. Okay, excellent first topic right out of the gate, you guys. I love it. Okay, our second question, Abby, this one's going to be for you. According to the Makers Index, 9 in 10 young people, 87%, and parents, 93%, say starting a career sooner than it takes to finish a 4-year degree is appealing. I can speak to this because I did the same thing. I wanted to get right in there and work in the industry. Despite this, a 4-year college remained the preference for most young people at 56%, and just 28% plan to seek a trade or apprenticeship immediately after high school. What do you think is driving these preferences, Abby?
So I think a huge component of this is comfort and familiarity. Students spend the majority of their life, 12 years in school. So of course they're going to lean towards something that they know for sure, which is being in a classroom, passing classes. It also doesn't help that college is pushed so much in especially high school that any other option like joining the military or joining the trades is pretty much left in the dust. There's also like almost a stigma around joining the trades where it's like a second option or, a last resort when it shouldn't be, it's just, we should try to change the stigma around the idea of joining the trades and make it more of a positive impact. That way it can help change the ideas that the teachers, students, and parents all have about it.
Yeah, and I very much agree with Abby here. Is like I think the stigma for younger people in school specifically is all focused on college. And I do have a 4-year degree. I went to college, and I'm not against it. I do understand a lot of the ins and outs of it, but I was very fortunate to have a full scholarship playing football to do so. I would have probably most likely not have gone that path if I didn't have that opportunity. So my situation personally was a little skewed, but I did go to a school where it was like the thing to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
And I do distinctly remember that the options for anything else weren't really there. You couldn't, learn to weld in school. There was no wood shop. They dropped that. They got rid of potentially any of those kind of, wet your whistle sort of endeavors in the school programs themselves that would get young people inspired or fired up to potentially pursue those careers. Now I live in Pittsburgh, and it's traditionally a blue collar town with a lot of trade professionals throughout it. And mostly the younger people that are getting into those are in those family businesses. So it's whether your family's telling you to go to college or you're going to go work for the family business that may be in the trades. There's still that stigma that like you should probably be going to get that traditional 4-year degree. And to me, kind of saying what Abby was saying is that's definitely the biggest concern right now for gaining popularity within the schools.
I love the learn while you earn phrase that's used in the trades a lot, right? Which is through apprenticeship programs and other programs, you can actually get paid on the job and you're learning a skill set that you're going to be able to use for life. And the same applies for manufacturing jobs, for example, at our company, where you can come in, get a job in the manufacturing plant, go up the ladder through there. It doesn't preclude college. And in fact, we as a company could end up paying for your college that you learn while you're earning while you learn. I'm back and forth here. Learn while you earn to be able to have a successful career and not necessarily have to just pick a path forever and exclude college from the path, right?
My father was a shop owner and mechanic, and I went right to college right out of high school. So exploring anything in the trades, even though I was exposed to that in probably the highest way possible as a child, that wasn't even on the table. The stigma was you go to college and get a 4-year degree. So bringing more knowledge to this industry, that's just another example of how important it is to spread that knowledge and spread the information. Okay, so moving on to our next section, we'll discuss exposure some. Our next question, John, this one's going to be for you. Have you ever been invited to speak with any students about skilled trade careers? This is a great question.
Yeah, and fortunately I have. And like I was touching on previously, it's like I am in an area of the country that has a blue collar background history. And because of that, there has been specific teachers that have fought to get individuals like me in the schools in front of kids in order to speak to them, not only on getting, into what I like to call getting their hands dirty in the trades, but more about how you can bridge that gap of being an internet personality while doing so. So I've spoken to a few local schools here where I've been able to tell them about my journey, which is very non-traditional as far as chasing a professional career in football, and then kind of having to start over in my mid-20s to find my way, and then ending up where I am today, working with my hands and owning a blue-collar-ish business. And so for myself, when I get the opportunity to talk to those kids, I love trying to not only show the opportunity to have a rewarding life working in the trades, but also make a good living. I think, touching on everything we've spoken to so far, one of the stigmas that comes along with traditional education, especially in high schools, is that if you want to be well off, you've got to be a doctor or a lawyer, or go get your MBA or a master's degree these days. And that's not the case. No one's talking about how much pipeline welders are making out of trade school. No one's talking about, any of the opportunities that are only take 2 years of education that you learn on the job, like we were speaking to before. So when I get in front of kids, I kind of like to bring that to light. I also like to kind of show that you can still have fun, be a YouTuber, which is, I think, the number one most desired job for young kids these days. And you can do it while working with your hands. So yeah, I mean, like to answer your question, I have been able to speak in front of a small number of schools, and I'm blessed for that. But I don't think it's even touching the tip of anything, even on a local basis, to try and get more young kids into the professions.
There is great potential for expansion here, though, because you being involved in the social spectrum, the social media world, YouTube world, especially for young people. I mean, you made the example of people don't know what an underwater welder makes, but they probably know what a TikTok influencer is bringing in on a yearly basis right now. And that becomes a desirable industry for many, many young people. How can I be a social media influencer? So I think it's really amazing that you're having the opportunity to connect the dots with the two and be like, hey, I'm making something here in the trades industry, but in a social influential way.
Yeah. And that's why I try to bring to my business, my brand, a lot of the enjoyment aspect of working in the trades. The skills, you can never learn enough. And we all know that. You're constantly learning and improving. And it can be very intimidating, as we kind of touched on with some of the statistics earlier. But it is something that you learn over time. But if you're having fun while doing it and while learning, I think that is the next stage for social influence within the trades. It's not dingy, dark, and dirty all the time. There's a lot of people out there having a blast and living a very rewarding and very good life working in the trades. And that's what I try to bring in my content, or anytime I get an opportunity to speak to a younger person.
Well, your introduction into the trades industry, as you said, it was a little less than traditional, but you're still involved in it, and that's exciting. Abby, being a female in the industry, I'd like to hear from you. Tell us about your career path and how you got into the trades, and was it through school that you were introduced to welding?
Well, I guess it's kind of, I don't know, my career path is pretty unusual as well. Graduating high school, I knew that college wasn't it for me. I hated school. I didn't want to go to more school. And I wanted to travel, but I didn't know what career would allow me to do that. So I decided to try hospitality. And I had a job at a hotel where I was selling large reservations for parties. And I am not a salesperson. I learned that very quickly. I can't sell anything. And it wasn't until I became friends with the chief engineer of the hotel, and he offhandedly mentioned welding. And I was like, my dad always told me to try it, but I was like, I don't want to do that because I don't want to be dirty. I don't want to do that stuff. And then I tried it, and I immediately fell in love with it. So as soon as I could, I went to a welding school. I got my structural steel certifications, went to work with the iron workers. Then I went with the elevator guys, worked with them for a little bit. And then I found the steam fitters and plumbers local 486. And it's just been great ever since. I love my job. I enjoy going to work every day. And I'm just really happy. But school, there was no mention of going to school or going for welding in school at all.
Especially not for females, because I think there's an even greater barrier with young people moving into, their potential future careers, like, talking about welding and the trades industry to women. What?
Yeah.
So it's even more of a challenge. There's an even bigger barrier to break down there.
Absolutely.
And that's just a huge barrier, right? But huge reward when it's broken down. You think about a large percentage of single moms trying to support their families on their own, working service jobs or lower income jobs, for retraining, going to school, retraining to become a welder. The financial impact there is life-changing, right? So you've now changed the life of this woman and her children, and you've changed their trajectory financially. And the outcomes there are amazing. So I do feel like the more we can get women interested in these career fields, the better off the whole society will be. We'll really be able to lift up folks who are struggling right now, who don't think about these as good career opportunities and good financial stability roles for them and their families.
Absolutely. A lot of times people are nervous about joining the trades because they don't know anything. But I mean, that ties back into the learn while you earn, they want you to learn. People in this trade want you to learn the trade.
Yeah, they're desperate for help too, right? So they're willing to take that time to train and retrain individuals because they're so desperate for the workforce right now. There are lots of gaps, lots of job openings for people who are interested.
And ladies, I couldn't agree with you more. And one of the ways that I feel that we can best, portray that message outwardly to more women is to just get out there and do it. I myself just started welding also, and I agree with you. It's awesome. I love it. And I'm excited to do more of it. And hopefully I can, inspire others to do the same because others inspired me to do the same. So it's all very exciting. Shannon, this is a great question for you. What should schools do to expose students to the skilled trades? For example, can we increase career and technical education or CTE classes, or possibly even introduce more maker spaces?
So again, another surprising outcome from the survey that I wasn't quite expecting was the small number of students that are actually exposed to people that work in the skilled trades or even to tools and using tools. But it makes sense when you start to think about the larger number of people that are growing up in cities and apartment buildings, who may never even been exposed to someone, using a drill to hang something in the wall, right? Because now you've got those 3M strips, right? You don't even need to drill a hole to hang a photo anymore, a picture on the wall anymore. And so they're not exposed to tools or making or building or creating their entire lives. So how could we expect that to be a career option for someone if they've never even held a tool in their hand? So thinking about how do we get more experiential touch bases with students where they can hold tools, where they can drill a hole in a piece of wood to see what that feels like, that they can go walk through a manufacturing plant environment, go to a job site and see what it's like, how a building gets made. These kinds of opportunities for students are huge, that experiential learning aspect. I know when I was in high school, we had shop class. We had a vocational school nearby so that by the time folks went to high school, if they had an engineering, creating, building mindset, that's where they went to school. They went to the vocational high school. Some of them ended up going to careers in the trade or trade school afterwards, and others went to college for engineering. But those opportunities existed on a much more wide scale that really targeted those careers in vocational trades. So we're speaking with some, industry executives in the construction industry. They just want schools to get that vocational training back into the schools. They want the schools to help with that exposure and training. And I think the industry, similar to John's experience talking to students, they're more than willing to come in and go to the schools and talk to the students about experiences and what they can be doing and potential opportunities for them in the skilled trades. So I think for school systems to reach out to the trades to reach out to the schools and volunteer, workshop sessions, bringing those shop class back, vocational training back into the high schools is going to be really, really important because we know there's a giant gap. We don't have the workers to build the world around us that we're looking to build right now. Yeah, plus the technology that's now used on job sites. They've got the iPads, all the drawings, the sketches, everything's now digital. The tools are becoming more and more digital in the training. On the manufacturing plants, we need technicians that are skilled in technology to be able to operate machinery. It has really changed dramatically in terms of the kinds of jobs that are available within what would normally be considered, skilled trades or working with your hands.
Excuse me. I was going to say on my end, I think that the conversation needs to change within the schooling system, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the messaging within the schools is where I personally see it as broken. I don't remember a single assembly coming through schooling program talking about anything in the skilled trades. It was more of, hey, if you're interested, here's a pamphlet on the wall kind of thing. Suit yourself. And I know we had vocational school, but there was a lot of barriers to it because a lot of people were manipulating that system to just leave school early. And, you know, and they also made it difficult to play sports while being in vocational school. So I think to change the messaging and kind of give the perspective, you know, assemblies aren't fun. I went to a decently sized school. They aren't fun for high schoolers at all. But if you can, you know, change the life of one or two kids sitting in that audience, because they didn't know about an opportunity within the trades, I think that, you know, that messaging and that kind of needs to become something that we're talking about more, because I know for a fact I was never shown or given a welder at any point in my youth to be able to learn that skill. And boy, would I have loved to, you know, when I was younger.
And some of the incentives and funding for schools have changed over the years too, where there's more incentive to be sending kids to college for SAT scores, how many kids get into college, right? So the way we've rewarded and recognized schools has really been geared towards sending kids to college, even if those kids would have a much more successful and financial livelihood not going to college. And that is a really tough message to change after all the years of pushing folks to college. But as someone said earlier, the financial cost of going to college has also gone up quite a bit. So that reward for attending college is not really that same benefit as it probably was many years ago. And so it does mean that we need to shift how we're looking at schools, what education they're providing, and what pathways we're providing to students coming out of high school.
And just to expand a bit on that more, how else can we expose more young people to these skilled trade professionals? What else can we be doing?
So say we've done a lot of work around our company and our founding and our purpose being for those who make the world, and really getting into the art of making and creating and building, right? And the sense of personal accomplishments that people have and the contributions to our society that are made by people who make, create, build things around us, and how important that is to society. The buildings that we live, the environment that is created around where we live has a real meaningful impact on who we are as a society and who we become as people. And the fact that we've lost some of that luster, right, that we provide, and some of that elevation of the people that make, create, and build is a real detriment to our society, frankly. And so really thinking about how do we restore that appreciation for people who are doing amazing, amazing work around us, and the pride that people feel in building that, being able to walk around a neighborhood and tell your son or your child or your neighbor, I built that, I made that. Woodworking, right? There's amazing creative projects that happen in that space that I'm envious. I don't have that skill. So I think I'll probably put myself in the white collar workers that have spent too many hours on Zoom calls the last 2 years. So, a career in woodworking sounds really, really appealing to me right now. So I think that we're going to find that as folks have gone back to their homes during the pandemic, taken that pride in building, right, has really started to erupt a real renaissance in this field of making and building, and people are really wanting to do and explore that as their career path now.
Shannon, you mentioned technology before, so let's explore a little bit more in that genre and the accessibility as well. Many young people perceive skilled trade work to be strenuous, according to Stanley Black Decker's Maker Index. That being said, only 12% of the young people cited a dislike of manual labor as their primary reason for not wanting to pursue a career in this field. The main reason cited by those 40% of young people by a long margin was poor fit or lack of skills, 56%. John, this is a question for you. What actions do you think are necessary to take to support young people in obtaining the necessary skills to enter into the trades field?
I think first and foremost, we have to get shop class back into schools. If we're going to be forcing young individuals to go through traditional schooling in any way, you got to give them an opportunity to explore the pathways that they could potentially enjoy. Myself, I was much more mathematically inclined coming through school. Therefore, I did much better in, algebra and calculus, physics and those types of classes compared to, things that weren't pertaining or math focused. And because of that, I just thought I should go to school for business. And I did. and then I came out of it and had no clue why I did that. And I think what happens is I had no other opportunity to go and explore what skills or interests that I potentially had while there. And I think the first and biggest issue is that there's no shop class. And so for me, thinking back on my experience, I was super fortunate in middle school to have 1 year of shop class where I did some basic woodworking, having no idea that it would turn into my life now. But I think that needs to be addressed immediately, and then to address kind of the lack of skills or the poor fit when it comes to skills. I think there needs to be a better emphasis on the technological advancement within the trades to these younger generations. I found 2 of my employees who are in their early to mid 20s because they saw some of the machinery I run in my shop, and they had a high interest in using them, whether that's some basic form CNCs or any type of application from the engineering field into the application field. We use CAD and CAM type softwares all the time for renderings. And I run a simple furniture company. I know when you start getting up into major construction, those are vital and critical roles these days. And I could promise you, we'd walk through any schools throughout the country, and very small amount of those kids would know that those opportunities exist, and they're incredibly technologically focused. So bringing the shop class back in and then starting to incorporate the technological advancements that are changing the industry for the people on the receiving end, get to these younger folks before they go to school and realize that, oh, maybe I could get into, something technical. I also think it's quite interesting how we look at opportunities to grow in the world today, and we look at all the apps on our phone, right? We look at all of the changes that are happening with social media and whatnot, and then you start to think of how let's take for example a specific app like Slack has changed work from home environments for most businesses. Going from huge businesses all the way down to small ones. There's so many opportunities for applications like that throughout the trades. It's like almost incomprehensible. Excuse me. I remember when the market was starting to get an influx of budgeting softwares for trade professionals to try and eliminate, the GC on job sites having to flip through notebooks and such. And, you can come up with one of those apps just as easily as you can come up with the next Slack or Facebook, and live a very healthy and meaningful life with a change like that coming to you. No one's talking about that. And I think one of the fortunate aspects of trying to show younger, let me take a step back. One of the fortunate aspects of where the trades are now is that they have been a slower adopter of these technologies, therefore leaving it wide open for many more opportunities. And from my side, the employees that I'm seeking or looking to hire these days, they have to have skills within those technological frameworks. They have to have a basic understanding of how to use certain programs and software and such. And I just know for a fact you can't go into you can't go into a high school and talk to a kid about a drafting software that's not focused into it on their own. But they're definitely going to be forcing, at least when what I can recall, they're going to be forcing coding and certain website development type courses and stuff. I mean, I think there's a ton of opportunity with the technological advancements in the trades to be at the forefront of trying to show younger people that they're not necessarily a poor fit. They just weren't aware that these jobs or opportunities existed.
Shannon, I'd like to field this one towards you. Many young people have outdated perceptions around the technology used in the skilled trades, as we've been discussing. According to Stanley Black Decker's Maker Index, about 1 in 4, 23%-ish, disagree that skilled trades work with cutting-edge technology. What technology is implemented in fields like manufacturing? Just to expand on this more, Shannon.
Sure. I mean, we're moving a lot to 3D printing and automation in the manufacturing plant. So think about the ability to be able to 3D print a wrench, for example, maybe a size that's not often used, rather than having a full manufacturing line dedicated to that particular wrench size. So all of that is requiring manufacturers to focus more on automation, 3D printing. The lack of skilled workforce is also fostering automation to move faster through the robotics And all of those machines and equipment need people who are technologically savvy just to even program the machines, right? And then the mechanics to repair them. This is now equipment that is much more technologically advanced than what was used in manufacturing plants just even 10 or 20 years ago. So that it opens the doors for a whole set of new skilled technicians in technology that just didn't even exist before. So the sector is moving very, very fast. I think the supply chain challenges that we've been seeing over the last couple of years in the pandemic are making that all happen much faster and accelerating that faster than we anticipated. But we don't have the workforce to really do that at the scale that we'd really like to now. So we're really supportive of the technology and the training programs that will help advance people into these careers.
Abby, you touched on this a little bit earlier, and I kind of dipped in there as well, speaking to gender equality, women in the industry, and how that's maybe lacking a little bit. Stanley Black Decker's Maker Index saw vast gender disparities regarding perceptions of the skilled trades. For example, when asked if a skilled trade career seems like a good option for them, 69% of teen boys agree, but less than half of girls agree, so 48%. Can you discuss this long-standing divide within the skilled trades?
So being a woman in a male-dominant industry is always going to be intimidating. You're always going to be the odd man out, and no matter who you are, that's frustrating and it's scary. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I was so scared of even considering this as a viable career option. I mean, there's always like the peanut gallery in the back saying that women can't do this or women shouldn't do this type of work. But that mentality is dying out and it's coming much more fewer and far between. I like to be feminine. I like to get my nails done. I like to, get my hair done, have a spa day and all that. And I thought because I like doing that stuff, I couldn't work such a masculine job, it's further from the truth. There's no stereotype that you have to fill in order to do a job like this and to enjoy a job like this. The mass majority of people that I have met and worked with have just been so kind and educational. And most importantly, they have been open-minded about having a woman work with them. They don't care like who you are. They just want to know if you can do the job and if you can do the job right. That's all they care about. And the times are changing and there's no conventional box that you need to check to do a job like this.
And John, like you, I myself have a little less than traditional approach to the trades industry, working in television and being a female host in an automotive industry and also a male-dominated hosting industry. So finding my place within that, and Abby, I couldn't agree with you more, that the diversity and the gender equality that does exist still even now, and having women that are not only legitimate, but skilled and respected, we're constantly having to prove ourselves. And it excites me when we talk about this because I think it's a great topic we need to explore on. And I truly am a believer that more women doing things like this and having these discussions and just getting out there and being involved in the field continues to grow and break down those barriers. Shannon, for you, what can we do to bring in more diverse talent to this industry?
My hope is that one of the benefits of the shortage of the skilled workforce that we have is that hopefully it will, accelerate faster diversity in the skilled trades, across gender, but also ethnic diversity as well too, racial diversity as well too. So we had been looking at ways to think about how do we help foster getting more workers into these skilled trades, maybe from groups that might not have considered it, or help facilitate that faster. Veterans groups, women, lower income communities. What could we do to help? And started exploring. And what we found was that there wasn't really a national or global organization really that dedicated to this that really seemed to move the needle a lot. And what we found was there was a lot of very small local community-based organizations and people that were doing some amazing work in their communities, supporting some of the work of some of the national construction and industry associations, manufacturing associations that were doing a great job. But these smaller nonprofits were really impacting their communities and individuals. So we launched a $25 million 5-year commitment, so $5 million a year over 5 years, to help these organizations expand, grow, and help more individuals directly. So organizations like Black Women Build that are really targeted on helping Black women learn construction techniques and tools by building homes. And so on-the-job training. There's organizations in North Carolina that work with women to help them get involved in construction, give people that confidence that they need, targeting veterans groups. And so by funding those organizations, we're hoping to help bridge that faster, but the diversity is necessary because there's just not enough workers. And so in talking to folks in the industry about this challenge on where the worker is going to come from, I think the industry is at a point where they just need the workers. And so how can they now adapt to the changing nature of the demographics of the workforce? So I think because of the worker shortage, it's probably forcing more changes on job sites in manufacturing industries to be more inclusive because they need the workers. So how do you create a construction job site that's more inclusive of women, that caters just a bit more to them, maybe with shorter work hours, or ending shift a little early so that women can go pick up children from daycare? And how do you create that environment on a job site that is more inclusive for folks that might not fit the traditional worker profile? And it's going to force some adaptations.
Let's talk about making the career switch. Like, how do we make that happen? How did that happen for you, John? What motivated you to move into a career in the trades? Because it's obviously very different than what you thought your career may be.
Yeah. And, kind of to keep it short, my journey through college to the NFL, I was very, very much an underdog. I was an undrafted free agent. I was super fortunate to get picked up by the Tennessee Titans in my first year. And then I bounced around. I played for 5 teams. I went through 13 cuts. I got absolutely zero real world job experience during that time, but I was able to stay up and down off of rosters and squeak out, some may say, like about a 4-year career in the NFL. So that puts me at 24 years old, getting done, retiring from the NFL. And I had absolutely no knowledge of how the real world worked. I had a 4-year degree in business from the University of Pittsburgh, and I was less valuable to the workforce than a sophomore with 1 summer's worth of internship coming out of college. So because of that, I kind of fell back onto what I learned through my family growing up. My my father and my grandfather both worked construction most of their lives. And I was always, a big kid. So I was always free help and had my hands in something, helping them out on some project growing up. And I picked up woodworking as a hobby while I was playing, kind of something to do in the downtime in the off season. And when I got done, I was lost. I just started building in my free time and started selling some stuff to some friends and family. I'd worked on job sites, doing some remodeling work with my friends and family to make a few bucks. I didn't make a ton of money in the NFL, so I had to figure it out kind of quick. And I kind of just dove in because I liked it. I enjoyed the rewarding side of working with my hands. I enjoyed the creativity of it. And I figured I could just pick up the rest of the pieces as I went. For me, the inspiration and motivation came from the success and fulfillment I saw from other individuals around me at a young age. I didn't have to go and be miserable in a cubicle like my friends growing up were doing with their traditional college degrees. I could go maybe try something else. I was in a situation where I had a little bit of money to give me a buffer to try something out. So I decided to go back to my core and put my hands in the dirt, as we would say, as an offensive lineman, and just kind of do the work. And I continue to sort of figure it out. I continue to this day to sort of figure it out. But I was never intimidated by it because I grew up in a family that, had some construction background, and I was able to, if I wanted to make a buck when I was a kid, I never had, I've to this day, never had like a real job minus the NFL or a real paycheck. I would go mow lawns, cut grass, roof, help with remodels. I'd do some work like that in order to make some money. So I literally just went right back to that, even at 24 years old. And that's what kind of motivated me to make the change. I also can't lie, I became quite addicted to the home renovation shows on HGTV. So I wanted to live that life. I wanted to be able to do that. And because I had, such a solid background in how a lot of that stuff worked, I knew I kind of wanted to start steering my life in that direction, and whether that be home remodeling work or getting into something that was a more specific trade. But I think the motivations are all around us for the most part. And for me, I kind of just, like I said, took a step back and reflected on my friends and family, saw what they did, and then took the leap myself.
I'd like to refer back to our Stanley Black Decker's Makers Index. A vast majority of workers, 88% surveyed, agreed that their job offered them opportunities to be creative, and 85% agreed that it enabled them to impact the world. Abby, this one's for you. Can you speak to some of the creative opportunities or impacts that you've had while in this career?
Absolutely. Growing up, I've always had a passion for the arts and being creative and having the ability to have an idea and bring it to life. And I love the freedom of thinking like, I want to build a side table for my living room because I think it would look nice, or I need something functional, like a set of stairs for my parents. And I have the, liberty to do that. And if I don't, I have this supportive community around me to help me get to those goals. And that's just that independence and liberty to do what I want is something that I hold very highly to myself. It just means a lot to me. As for impact, like spreading the message to especially students and younger people that didn't really have a direction like I did, that you can do this, that it's possible for anybody to do this. That's something that's really, really important to me. Like there's so much untapped potential that kids or, younger people have that because they won't consider the trades. I make an effort to talk to groups, just like Girl Scout groups. And I reached out to my old high school, and we're working on a project to build sculptures for the school. And it's just something that I just get so excited about, because if I didn't have somebody like me to look up to when I was growing up. I didn't know that someone like me, of my stature, the way that I look, the things that I like, could do a job like this. And if I can be that for somebody else and change somebody's perspective about this and about the trades and that they can do this, that would be everything.
What a fantastic way to kind of put a bow on our discussion topic today. I mentioned earlier we would be doing some rapid fire questions. So I'm going to go ahead and fire those off. If you guys could keep your responses to 20 seconds or less, just nice and short, we'll fire through these guys. Okay, you guys ready? No, we don't have any buzzers here, so. All right, John, I'm going to start with you. What is your favorite part of being a trade professional?
Having the ability to bring an individual's idea into the physical world, whether it's mine or somebody else's dream.
Shannon, I'm going to throw a curveball your way. If you weren't in your current position, what would you do?
I think I'd go work with John in his woodworking shop.
Right? Sign me up too.
I'm coming over.
All right, Abby, this one's for you. What's one thing you're most proud of in your career?
Just to be able to look at a building or any project that I've worked on and just say I did that, or I helped with that. Just to build something out of nothing and to take pride in the work that I do.
I like this one for you, John. What is one thing that would surprise people about the trades?
I'll be super blunt with this one. You can make more money in a shorter period of time than your peers working in the trades.
Yeah.
I like it. All right, Abby, where do you see yourself in 10 years? No pressure.
Oh my gosh. I guess being able to take my career as far as I can go, learn as much as I can, to grow in this industry and just be able to grow as a person.
Shannon, this is a really important question. Why is supporting the trades so important for a company like Stanley Black Decker?
I guess if the world's largest tool company isn't going to support it, who else is going to do it?
Couldn't agree with you more. John, this one's for you. What are some skills, characteristics, or signs that someone should consider a career in the trades?
I would say if you find hard work to be rewarding and you enjoy being on a team where your input as well as the input of others matters to you, you should definitely consider the trades then.
Fantastic response. Okay, last one for rapid fire. What was the one statistic from the Makers Index survey that surprised you the most, Shannon?
The biggest one for me, and one we're working to debunk every day now, is that almost 20% of young people think that the starting pay for a skilled trades worker is under $20,000, and they completely misunderstand the long-term earnings potential.
Right, rapid fire. Good job, guys. Round of applause for everybody. Fantastic job. I feel like next time we need buzzers maybe for that. Get everybody to buzz in on each question. Well, this has been an incredibly insightful and fantastic discussion, conversation, and hopefully informative for all involved. Thank you to all of you for joining us in today's discussion. And thanks to our panelists, of course, Shannon, John, and Abby, for sharing your perspectives and your insights. They are very, very valued. We've learned a lot today that perhaps the biggest challenge driving the skilled trade shortage isn't what most people are saying, that young people don't see the value in these careers. They do, they see them. And the Makers Index makes that quite clear. The challenge is in making it more personally appealing. And we have to work together to give young people more opportunity to meet and learn from people in these fields, change perceptions about financial opportunity, and show how high-tech these jobs can be. In that spirit, Stanley Black & Decker is committed to empowering makers everywhere and helping support the skilled trades. In addition to facilitating important discussions like these and conducting valuable research to help better understand the issue, the company has also recently launched the Empower Makers Global Impact Challenge, which commits up to $25 million, that's right, I said $25 million in grant money over the next 5 years to fund vocational skills training and reskilling programs in the construction and manufacturing sector. So kudos to Stanley Black & Decker for launching that program. And to learn more, you can visit stanleyblackanddecker.com/makers-index. Thank you guys so much. Thanks again to our panelists, Shannon, John, and Abby, for joining us on behalf of Stanley Black & Decker. Thanks for tuning in. Guys, have a great day.